Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for coming on in and having a seat. We're going to have another installment of our Faith Talks today. Before we do that, I want to make a couple of announcements to remind you. As long as I've worked here, students have come to me and said, Neil, you're so cool. What should we do this weekend? So I'm here once again and providing to you. Don't forget that on Sunday, SGA is hosting the Booper Soul Party. Said any other way, it would be copyright infringement. And so that is at 5 p.m. in the branch. Come and join them. There's prizes, there's drawings, there's all kinds of opportunities there. And then also I want to remind you, just before that, the BSU is helping host something called Motown in the Forum, and how they were so fortunate to plan an outdoor event on February the 8th that's going to be in the mid-70s in Oklahoma. I cannot imagine, but it worked out great. So 4 o'clock, be out there and enjoy some music from a local artist, and calling it Motown in the Forum. All right, so today we're going to continue our faith talks. And in doing this, you remember that we want to talk to people on this campus who are possibly experiencing or have experienced something similar to what you have or what you are experiencing. Or maybe they've come through something that we feel like might be a powerful story for you. And today, we have someone who I'm sure would never say that she's completely through something, but she has experienced some things and has a story to tell that I think is going to be a big impact for you. So help me welcome Claudia Morrison to the stage. All right, Claudia, tell us where you're from. Kind of give us the lowdown on you. You're from, your major, all those things.
Okay, I am from a little bitty town in Ash Grove, Missouri, and it's near Springfield. I'm a junior here. I'm an early childhood and elementary education major. I have a twin brother, but he doesn't go here, so
Loser.
You wouldn't know him.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay, yeah. So
and
you're in your major here. You're in your junior year. So this year you start doing some practicum type things, or next year you start getting out into schools?
Yeah, next spring I'll student teach.
Okay, Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about what you've been doing the last couple of summers. You have a special place that's become special to you, at least, Ganderbrook Christian Camps. Did it have a connection to your family, or how did you find this place?
This was a connection through church. A lady at my church, her son went up there to counsel. He met his wife, and they had just been going up there every summer ever since. And so he texted me and asked if I wanted to go, and I obviously said yes because it's church camp in Raymond, Maine. So who wouldn't like that? And I went there the summer after my freshman year here and last summer, and I sadly can't go this summer, and it makes me really sad, but they need more counselors, so especially boys. So if you are in need of a summer job, this is the place to go. They need more boy counselors for sure. Girls, you can still apply, and you might get it, but they need more boys. But it's just the best place ever.
I love that when we were talking to Claudia, and I said, what message do you want to get across? And this was one of the things she wanted to make sure and get out to you, is this was an opportunity that's really been special to you. It's meant a lot, right? So I love that. So check out, if you have questions about Ganderbrook Christian Camp after chapel, you could catch Claudia as well. I know she's always willing to talk about it. So, okay, Claudia, so you're living near Springfield, Missouri. You grew up there. Your life, what would you kind of describe your childhood? How would you describe the way you grew up?
I feel like, well, it's just really small towny.
Yeah.
And if you know me, you know I have a lot of stories to tell. I don't know. I feel like I just have gained a lot of experiences through just with my family. We went on a lot of trips, and we did a lot of cool things. I was in 4-H. I learned how to sew, and I did cake decorating and chickens and all these random things.
You are painting quite the picture of Missouri to these people right now. Yes, okay, good. Well, listen, I know, so you sound like you enjoyed your childhood. You loved it there. That's great. We all hope to do that, hope to love our childhood. But then something happened when you were 11 that was obviously life-changing. And so I don't know how else to get into it other than you just kind of tell us the story of what happened that day when you were with your brother and your mom, and you were 11 years old. So give us that story.
So there was a day, it was December 8th. My mom had picked me and my brother up from school, and we were about 2 miles from my house when a drunk driver hit us head on in a collision, and so we were backed up into a ditch. And my mom was airlifted to the hospital, and my brother and I broke my collarbone from the seatbelt, and my brother had a big goose egg on his forehead. And they took us to the hospital in the ambulance, and so we were separated from my mom for a few hours, and I didn't see her again until they had told us that she had passed. So she did pass away that day, and that was just crazy, and I was just very shocked.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. And your dad had to rush to the hospital, right, to be with you, and I guess to check on your mom initially too. So maybe just for their understanding of this, your dad went from having this intact family to, just like you and your brother, things just kind of fell apart, your world. What was one of the decisions he made there early on? You know, that in the hospital even, he had a decision to make about if he took you to see your mom or what you did. And so talk about that a little bit and about how that may have shaped you and your brother.
So my dad was the one who delivered the news, and we went to see her after my dad had told us. But my dad was the one who said he knew that it was important for us to have a routine no matter what. So we kind of had to, he told us, he used the phrase new normal. So we had to get used to this new normal. And he tried to keep it mostly the same because, I know as an ed major, kids need routine and the same things. So he tried to keep that, and for himself too. Even adults kind of thrive on routine, but it was just not the same. So that's how he was referring to it as a new normal. So everything that he did, he had us in mind, and he always wanted it the best for us.
Yeah. So can you think back to when you were 11, as far as where was your faith in God? What was your faith like, or how did you see God in this terrible thing? How did you see God working in your life? Can you remember?
Yes. So I grew up in the church. I've always been to church. I grew up in church camp, and that's why I love it so much. I was involved in VBS, LTC, all the things. So I had a faith, but I was 11, so it wasn't my own faith yet. It was mainly just kind of what my parents were doing for us and things like that. So I remember you asked me the other day, like, how do you think that you got through that? And I honestly have no idea, because I didn't have my own faith, and I was just, every time I would pray to God, I was just really angry at him, and I wasn't really, asking him for any sort of characteristics that would help me. I was just mad. But my dad was the one who he definitely modeled the Christian life and how to live after tragedy. So
yeah, it's amazing to think having to make that decision and the decisions your dad had to make. I'm sure there were some of them he was like, great decision, and some of them he was thinking, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I meant to mention this at the beginning. I think if you will pay attention to the signs around campus where there's the plaques that have the Kingdom Way, if you get to know Claudia, you're going to see those characteristics in a big way in her life and in the way she lives. And one of those that I might suggest to you, as you talked about how you could make it, was the final point on that is that God can do immeasurably more than you can ask or imagine. And I think that it had to be something where God just did more than you wouldn't have even known what to ask for, but God can be present there. And so I thought when you say that, I think that's where I come to. So, just a side note of this, one of Claudia's mom's friends was a former student here who is really close to our family, and she called us that day and talked to my wife. This former student here, her mom had passed away, and she kind of used my wife as the sounding board for things she would normally call her mom about. And I heard Claudia's story 8 years before I ever met her, and we prayed and we wept just at how sad and how devastating it was. And so it's just amazing to me these years later to get to know Claudia, and also she's every bit of the person that I imagined she was. Okay, so you got to put yourself back together, and you're leaning on your church, you're leaning on your dad. Eventually, your dad remarries. So talk about that. What's the shock of having a stepmom?
So my dad met my stepmom. Her name's Pamela. I call her just Pam. He met her in 2018, so about a couple years later. And then they got married in 2019. And I was so mad. I was so mad. And my dad, and so was my brother. We were just shocked, and we didn't want her in our house, so we were kind of mean to her. um, but my dad had lots of conversations with us, and one of the main things that stuck out to me with what he said was every child needs a motherly and fatherly figure in their life, no matter who it is. And I'm sure some of you out there know that and can experience that. So Pam came into our lives, and I was 13, so I still needed some parenting and guidance, even though I did not think I did, but I definitely did. So she helped a lot with that, and my mom had taught me so much before I was 11. I knew how to cook basic things. I knew how to sew things. I knew how to clean the house. And so when Pam came along, she kind of just built off of that, which, looking back now, I can see that.
Yeah. So you mentioned that. I want to, as you think about yourself and any struggle that you've been through, I love the fact that your dad said that, and he didn't say a mom and a dad. He said a motherly and fatherly figure, because we're not all so fortunate to have our moms and our dads for the amount of time we need. And so instead, we have these mentors, or maybe it's a youth minister, or maybe it's a coach, maybe it's an aunt or uncle or grandparent that fill in that spot. And so that's so wise of your dad to value that for you and your brother. Okay, but eventually you started giving Pam a chance, right? And so think about that from your faith standpoint. What did you draw on from your faith to eventually give Pam a chance?
I don't even remember when I realized this, and sometimes I still hate to admit it, but she is a big blessing in my life because she's someone I can talk to about things that I don't necessarily want to talk to my dad about, and she's just a friend to me. And so I've realized that, and I think God has just put in my brain that, yeah, she's a blessing to you, and you should appreciate her and what she does for you. So, and she's a hospice nurse, and so my grandma has slowly kind of been getting dementia. She's helping a lot with that because we would have zero ideas of what to do.
Right.
So she's just been a great blessing.
Yeah. I love the fact that we all get to grow and mature, right? I mean, we're not stuck with our immaturities that we have. I imagine at 11 years old, or even at 13 or 12, when your dad has someone else come around. I do want to tell you that I would love to have seen you being mean, because I just can't picture it. And so if your dad has any examples, I'd like to hear that. But you that's new person introduced to you, and then you grow into understanding, okay, God has worked in this way as well. And it's made you who you are today. You are a product of your mom and your stepmom, really, in a lot of ways. And that's a really beautiful thing. And that combination, by the way, equals a very kind and loving and a person who's a great friend. And so that was a recipe that God used in a good way. You wanted to talk a minute about just reflecting on something you worked on last summer at camp. And so I kind of want to open it up for you to maybe tell us about this project that you did at camp and kind of where this came from.
So at Ganderbrook last summer, we have like sporting activity nights, and then we have spiritual activity nights. And one of the spiritual activities was about hope, because the overall theme was faith, and so we were trying to figure out words or things that tie into faith. So we talked about hope, and we made an acronym out of it. So the H was for healing, the O was for optimistic, the P was for patient, and the E was for effort. So mine was the P, which hope is patient. So I just wrote this out because this is what I shared with the campers, and I just want to share it with you because it has all of my thoughts and what I kind of want you to get out of this. So, because I was young, I wasn't sure how to process the situation. I was in such shock that I didn't allow myself to grieve for a long time, and I also wasn't sure what that meant or how. Because of that, it took me a long time to accept my new life. I had to trust that God would take care of my family and hope that everything would work out. Since I was young and my faith wasn't my own yet, I was hoping for things that wouldn't ever happen. I hoped that this was just a dream and that mom would come back tomorrow. This was more of a wishful thinking type of hope. Now, as my faith has become my own and has grown, I have a deeper kind of hope. I hope that I will see my mom again because of the faith I have in Jesus and what he has done for me. So looking back, God was definitely there in that whole entire situation. When we got hit, there was a lady sitting in her driveway just getting ready to leave. She was there already, so she called 911, in that, because I don't even know if I would have thought to do that. My mom's phone was in the passenger seat, just unharmed, just open, ready there for me. So I crawled back in and I got it and I started texting people and calling. My mom was physically on the outside, she was unharmed. She looked very peaceful and at rest, even though she was inside not okay. And there's the community of support that just my church, my family, friends, everyone was just so supportive. So I try to look at the little things now because God is always there in those little things, even though you might not realize it until later. God will always be there no matter what, and I can have hope in that. The hope I have is patient. It is something that I can't have right now, but I know it will happen and I will get to see her. Right now, God is working in the waiting, and I have been blessed beyond measure. I have a wonderful stepmom who has a wonderful and supportive family. I get the opportunity to go to Oklahoma Christian. I have an amazing and loving church family who would do anything they could to support me. Grief hits at random times, which makes waiting and having a patient hope even harder than it already is. But knowing that God is always with me makes me look for and appreciate the joys in life, big or small. So having a hope that is patient is difficult, but I know it will be well worth it when I can see my mom again.
It's beautiful. It's just amazing that I feel some kind of like embarrassment. I think that you have such a maybe better understanding than I do. That I think I'm supposed to have a good understanding of that, but you have this understanding that God has presented to you, and I think it's just amazing. Okay, so there's people in the audience here. I know there's people out here that have lost parents in the last couple of years. There are people in this audience who have lost grandparents who are really important to them. There are people who maybe at an early age like you, they lost someone that was really needed, like you needed your mom as well. What would you say to them as they walk through this and as they try to come to this understanding? What advice would you have for us as we deal with that?
Well, this sometimes is hard for me too because grief is something that just comes and goes, and it's just gonna always be there. It definitely gets easier, but I would say don't stay stuck. I was stuck for so long, and my dad had so many conversations with me, and I finally got unstuck. But you just have to look forward to, you can remember the past. My dad says, remember the past, be in the present, and look forward to the future. So look forward to the things that are to come and always stay in the present by looking at the little joys that you have in life, and just focusing on the good rather than just focusing on the negative.
If I had to say, one of the things that I've known just from knowing Claudia more in the last 3 years is that finding joy in those little things, that needs to be your middle name, basically. That's what you do, and that's the way you bless all of us around you as well. And so I'm really thankful, Claudia, that you agreed to share this story, and I hope that it's a blessing to someone that's hearing this today. I think it's a surprise to some people who didn't know the story, because you live a life that is so vibrant that I think people probably think, wow, she's never had a tough day, you know. but here you're giving us this example of how to walk and sometimes have to crawl in faith, but get there. And I'm so thankful that you have. I'm not thankful for that accident, but I'm thankful for the person who you have become and the way it impacts this campus. So thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. Just wait right here. I want to end us in prayer today, so if you would, please join me. Father, thank you for loving us. It's so obvious to us, Lord, in a situation like this that Claudia has taught us about today, just the way you worked in her life. It's inspirational to us in so many ways. Lord, I'm going to take this and remember it for some days that are really challenging for me. And I'm going to try to, I hope, Lord, I can be a blessing to others, just like you have helped Claudia become to us. Lord, we are thankful that you are a God, as we said already, that can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine. We cannot imagine living this life without you, God, being a person, being the being that you are, to be able to do more than we could ever imagine. So, Father, thank you for that kind of love, and thanks for the avenue of coming to you and asking for your guidance. And thank you for the way that you help and mature and encourage a person like Claudia. Lord, be with all of us, and be with everyone this weekend, that they'll make good decisions to grow closer to you. And also, Father, that if they have questions or hurts, that they'll reach out to someone who can help them or can encourage them. Father, we love you, and we thank you for the opportunities we have here at Oklahoma Christian. It's in your name we pray. Amen. You're dismissed.